Hello everyone, this is Miss Anna from the Eldersburg Library, and I'm here to show you guys how to make a simple ping pong video game using Scratch. So for anyone who's not familiar with it, Scratch is kind of similar to Code.org. It's, if you ever use that, it's a platform where people can make their own video games, and, well, very easy, simple computer games, and other kind of similar animated, coding activities using block coding, which is a form of coding where instead of typing out the commands for the program to follow, they're pre-programmed in these little blocks and you have to put them in the right order to get the computer to do what you want it to do. So I'm here on the Scratch website, and that's where you're going to want to start. You're going to want to go to scratch.mit.edu up here where the URL is. Hopefully you can see my cursor. And you will probably, if you want to save your game, you'll need an account. I'm already signed into mine because I made a different video with Scratch. But it's real easy. All it needs is an email, username, and password. If anyone has any questions about creating an account, just go ahead and email me at ajohns@carr.org and I'll help you out. But once we get to the Scratch homepage, you're going to want to click the button that says Create. Let it load. Then go to Tutorials. And scroll down to where it says Pong Game, this one right here, and click on that. And you'll see that I don't think the sound will play because I don't have like the fancy Screencast-O-Matic that you have to pay for, but they'll actually give you video tutorials to help you learn the code the game, which is also what I'm going to create right now. But I think those are really helpful, and you can click through and it'll give you instructions for each section. And something else that I did, I actually found these cards that if you type in this URL up here, I honest to goodness cannot remember how I got here. But if you type in this URL here, you'll get these instruction cards that also give you a step-by-step. And I think those are also super, super helpful. So let's get started. It looks like our first step is to choose a background and then get our ball to bounce around. So the first thing we're going to do is go in, and let's see what this says as well. So we need to add a backdrop. Let's see. So we're going to go over here in the corner where it says choose a backdrop. When you hover over this little button that looks like it has like a photo of some mountains in it. And it looks like you can upload whatever you want. If you have a photo or something you want to use, you can click surprise and see what it gives you. You can do a paint option. See, I clicked surprise and it gave me a little playground. You can click paint and just draw whatever you want. Or you can search for a backdrop and it gives you all these options and you can pick whatever one you like. I'm going to scroll through and see what we have here and then get back to you. So just for the sake of making this kind of easy to see while we're creating the game, I'm just going to go with these stripes. I'm just going to have these in the background. And then I might alter it once I get a little further in the game. So I'm going to go back here, and the next step is to choose a ball. So I'm going to go right here, where it says choose a sprite, and I'm going to search. And look, we have all these options here. And your ball does not necessarily have to be a ball. It's just going to be something that bounces. So if you want to create a game where you're bouncing like a butterfly, or the flying cat, or cloud, something like that, you can choose one of those, but again, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to use a ball and then alter it if I want to. And this is what my screen looks like so far. Now you want to go back in, and it looks like it's time to code our ball. So the first thing we need, and I'm going to bring that up on our tutorial down here as well, is we need to go into events. And we're going to get some event commands. This tells the computer, or the programming, that when an action happens, the computer should do something else. So when we click this green flag, and now we need some motion, these are commands. And commands are the instructions for the program. It tells the program what to do. These commands all have to do with motions that the object you're coding should take. And we also want to make sure that the ball is highlighted here. Like you see, if I click this sprite, I'd be now coding this cat, and we're actually going to remove the cat so that this is the only thing I'm coding. And we want the one that says point and direction. And we're going to make that a 45-degree angle. You just type in that little box. And we just want it to keep going. We just want this to never stop bouncing. So we're going to get a forever command, which means it will not, if I put in a repeat, it would only bounce 10 times, or however much I set it. But we want it to just keep going as long as the game is playing. I'll measure how far it moves in steps. So we're going to have it move 15 steps. And after that, let's see, and if we want it to, if it hits the edge of our box, we want it to bounce away from there. So we are going to find the command that says if on edge bounce. And stick it there. And let's see if I'm missing any steps. I think that's it. So it's time to give it a test. So I'm going to click the flag and check it out. You can see our ball bouncing around. That is super cool. And I'm just going to stop that. Test it once more. Good. It looks like he's doing exactly what we want it to do. Now, according to the instruction cards, the next step we need is a paddle. So we are going to learn to control a paddle by moving the mouse pointer. So we're going to scroll down. And now we're going to need to go, first off, get a paddle. So we're going to go to the sprites again. And we're going to go up here and we're going to search paddle. And we're going to click that. And we're just going to drag that to the bottom of our little box there. And I'm going to get over here in our tutorial. And we're going to set that, and notice our code for the ball is there, but we want to code the paddle now. So we're going to click on that little icon. We're going to do something real similar to what we did for the ball. We're going to get that when the flag is clicked. We're going to grab a forever loop from our controls. And then we're going to go up into motion and find set X to, and it has a thing here that's just blank. We want to get that to sense the mouse. We want to get it to sense when it's clicked. Or not necessarily when it's clicked, but when it's hovered over. So that way you can move that as your controller. So we wanted to sense mouse X. And we're going to just plug that in there. And let me just check my cards. I think first we want to give that a test. So we're going to click the flag. We'll get our ball bouncing. And you see when I move left and right with my mouse, the paddle moves. And I don't think it's going to do anything. Yes, it doesn't recognize the ball yet. So I think our next step is going to get that to recognize the ball. Let me get that to stop. And that will be our next step. Alright, so our next step is to get the ball to bounce off the paddle. So according to this card, we need to first make sure we selected the ball sprite, and then add this code here. And I believe that it should also show me that, oh good, it's in our tutorial here as well. So we're going to go back to our ball. We're going to scooch this over so I can see what I'm doing. And it looks like, is this in that same forever loop? Oops. Let's go back to our card here and see. So actually, no, we need a new forever loop. So we're going to go up to the events and grab another when flag is clicked. Throw that in there. Then go back into the controls, grab another forever loop. And now we want an if command. An if command indicates that an action will be performed by the program only if a certain event happens. So only if the ball is touching the paddle, it will perform these events. If the ball is not touching the paddle, it knows not to do what it's about to be, what I'm about to program in. So I'm going to go into sensing, and I'm going to find if touching, plug that in, and then click paddle. And then I need it to go into motions. I'm going to tell it to turn. I'm going to tell it to turn right. You see these little arrows. And it says I want to go 180 degrees. So let's see, 180. And then move 15 steps. This will give it some distance once it hits the paddle. And then wait 0.5 seconds. And let's go back to our card. Does it have anything else? Nope, it wants us to test. So we're going to scoot our tutorial once again. Hit that flag. And let's try and catch the ball. Oh, check that out. Look, well, it'd help if I could catch it. Whenever it hits the paddle, it bounces back away. It changes direction. And it bounces away from the paddle. It doesn't go right through the paddle anymore. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Isn't that cool? So I'm just going to click stop. And let's see what our next step is. Alright, so we want our game to stop if a ball hits the red line. So we want something to make the game a little more challenging. So first, we're going to need to go get a line. So just like with the ball and with the paddle, we're going to go over into our sprite button and we're going to search line. We're going to grab this line and we're going to just drag and drop it to the bottom of our little square. And we're going to take the paddle while we're here. We're going to just put that above the line. So it should look like that. That way if you miss the paddle, the ball will hit the line. Going back to my line to code. And we're not ready for that yet on this tutorial because we're still making our line. And we need to add some code to our line. So when the flag is clicked, I just went ahead and paused and found that in our tutorial so it's easier to see. I always like to have the tutorial up. I think it makes life a little easier. But making sure we're in that line, we've highlighted our line sprite. We get when flag clicked. We're going to grab a forever loop from our controls. And then we need another if command. So if, and we're going to make sure we put that in our forever loop because it applies forever. We're going to go get sensing, if touching, and we want it to detect the ball. Because if the ball hits the line, your game is over. And then we're going back into controls and we're going to get a stop command. This is going to tell the computer that you have to stop doing all programming. And it should say stop ball because we want the whole game to be over. And I think that does it for our red line. Yep, it says to go give it a test. So let's try it. Let's try. I'm going to try hitting the ball. I'm doing okay. Oops! And it just stopped everything. It's not bouncing anymore. Can't move my paddle. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. That's great. I'm just going to click stop so it all resets. And let's see what our next step is. Looks like we want to create a score. That makes sense. We want to be able to know how well we're doing in the game and how many times we hit the ball with the paddle. So let's go bring that back up on our tutorial. So according to our cards here, Scratch doesn't actually automatically have a score, so we need to go create a variable. A variable is one of our components in our game. We're going to click make a variable, and we're going to call it score. And I believe, let me double check, we want to have it, to correspond with all sprites. So now we've got something that says score here. And we want, let me just scroll down a little bit to add in some new code. So you'll notice I clicked on the ball again on my sprite menu. So we're going to be coding for the ball once again. And we're going to go into the second round of commands that we made. And we're going to grab a variable and we're going to say, grab one that says change my variable by 1. Because every time the ball hits the paddle, we want the score to increase by 1. So we're going to stick that right in there under our if command. And we're going to change my variable to score and keep it set by 1. Next up, we want our score to reset if we click the flag again. If we start a new game, we want our score to reset. So I'm going to grab another one of our when flag is clicked events. Just stick it up there. Doesn't really matter where you set it as long as it's independent. Then we're going to go back to our variables. Pick one that says set. Scoot that out of the way. And then make sure it says score. Alright, so now that we set up a score, we pretty much have the basic structure of our Pong game. And I'm going to click go. But there's something that I kind of noticed. I'm going to make my game go. That every time the ball bounces away, it goes the exact same direction. So I don't even need to play. I can just let it bounce forever. And that's not particularly fun. Like, even if I just keep bouncing it over and over, it just goes in the same direction. So that's a little bit boring. But a way to address this, I went to my Pong card, or my cards over here. And if you choose a variable that says pick random instead of just turning, you can make it bounce a little more. So I'm going to go into operators, and first I need to check and see where that was. We want to make sure we're in our ball, and if touching paddle, underneath that, and we want to make sure we're in our right set of directions. We're going to pick this one that says, this operator that says pick random, and swap out that 180 degrees. And the card here says 170 to 190. I think that sounds good. Let's just plug that in. Oops. And let's see if it says anything else. I think that's about it. Let's try it again, see if it's a bit more exciting. And a little thing I noticed is that you do have to click the gut flag a couple of times because it recognizes your ball is in the red zone. But now you can see it is just bouncing all over the place. It's not just going the same way. I do actually have to follow it to keep it from falling into the line. And I think that's a lot more exciting. I think one more fun thing to do would be to have kind of a goal to the game. That if you get 10 points, you've won. So I'm going to go back into these instructions, and it says that if I want to have a win the game message, I want to go into the paint button. So that's under sprite, so I'm going to be creating a new sprite, and I'm going to click paint, and I'm going to click text, this little T for text. I'm going to type U1, and it does nothing, so give me just a moment. So I actually had to click the screen, but now it's going to let me type U1, that's an exclamation point, and I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to find a font that looks a little more video game-ish. I like this pixel font, that's pretty fun. And I'm going to make that a little bigger, and let's see, I think you can pick colors as well. Oop. Don't know what that was all about. Let's reset that. Please stand by. Alright, we are back because my computer zoomed in for no good reason, but we are back on our text, and you can see that you can make it bigger or smaller by adjusting the corner there, and you can highlight, excuse me, I believe you can change the color as well by clicking this paint bucket. But I think I'm going to keep it as this purple. And let me see really fast. Oh no, here's what you want to do. You highlight it, you go to fill, and you can change the color by using this little thing. I like this purple because I think it stands out against that green and white. And you can also, by clicking this pointer, move it around, and you see this little cross shape in the middle can help you center it, and that'll make it appear right in the center of your game. So I'm going to save that and keep going with my code. I'm going to go back here and let me see if it wants what it wants me to do. Where are my cards? Here they are. I'm going to put my tab back. And I believe it wants me to go into the code tab. So I just want to go where it says code. And we're on my sprite, so there's no code yet. And we want to grab that when flag is clicked. So we'll go into our events. And then we want to get something that says a looks, which controls the appearance of your game. And we want to find the one that says hide. This means that when the flag is clicked, you won't be able to see that you won. So now we need to set the winning score. And just for the sake of testing it, I'm going to make it 5 rather than 10 or more. So I need a wait command. I need the programming to wait until a certain event happens. So I'm going to grab this one that says wait until, and then I believe I need, let's go back and look. Yep, I need an operator. And I need one that says equals. So I'm going to grab this equal one. And I'm going to make sure it plugs into here. Then I'm going to grab my variables. I'm going to pick score. Drag that over to that oval there. And set that to just equal 5. And I believe, yes. And we want that to show up. So we're going to go back into the looks. And rather than hide, we're going to find the one that says show. And we're going to drag and drop that over, plug it in, and our last step there is until it says stop all. So we're going to find stop somewhere, stop all. And so until the game stops, it's visible. So let's give that a test. Let's test our whole game out. We've got our code for the sprite. We've got it for the line, for the paddle, and the ball. Let's give it a test run. Let's click that flag. And here we go. See, our sprite disappeared. Our you win disappeared. That's just what we wanted it to do. We're at 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. And it says you won and it stopped the game. That's perfect. That's just what we wanted it to do. And I think that kept it from hitting that line as well. Let's give it one more test run. Now watch, this time I'm gonna miss it and keep having to give it test runs. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You won again. We got it. And that's how you make your Scratch game. And once you finish making your basic game, there are some cool things that you can try out experimenting with. For instance, if you want your ball to move a little faster to make it more challenging, you can go into your code for the ball sprite, and in your first round of code that controls the ball moving around, you can set it to move 20 steps rather than 15, and hit your flag. And you'll notice it's bouncing a lot quicker. It makes it a little more challenging. And another thing you can try is if you want your game to be a little longer, click out of your code and back in, and then go to where your sprite is for your U1 sprite, and you can set the score to 10. And now, I gotta click it out of the red zone. Oh, apparently I'm not very good at this game. But since I set the score a little higher, one moment, it should be able to. Had some technical difficulties with my ball there, but once you set your score to go a little further, you should be able to play past 5 up until you get to 10. So I think it's really fun to kind of mess around with your code, see what else you can do, try out your game a few times, try making the ball go faster, try changing out your sprite in the background. And I'm just kind of rambling until I get to 10 here so I can show what I did. Watch me like lose at number 9. There we go. And you can see that your U1 came up later because we altered the code. So that's a fun thing to experiment with. I didn't do this on the screen recording because it won't catch sound, but you can also try programming it so that you hear a little sound whenever your ball hits the paddle or whenever you win. That's another fun thing you can try out. But to finish out, we're going to save our project. So we're going to go up here where it says File, click on that, and you can also save it straight to your computer, but we're just going to click Save Now, and that means our project is saved. So if I go over into this folder icon, I can see all of the games that I've made, and if I click See Inside, it brings up all my code. I can even make it a full screen game if I want to. And I can share this. If I click that control, if I copy paste that and put it in here, it brings up my project for other people to try out. So I think that's a really fun way to share your game with your friends. You can try emailing them the link and see if they can play it. Or even stick the link to your game in the Facebook post comments so everybody can see what you made. I think that could be really fun. Hello everyone! I figured I would do the outro to this video in person just to shake things up from just being a screen recording of Scratch. But I hope you had fun with this Scratch tutorial to make a really easy Pong game. That was the entire tutorial for the basic game. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in the comments, and I'll be happy to help you out. And I encourage you guys to experiment a little bit. I decided to leave it a little bit open, A, because the video was getting very long, and B, because I wanted to give you like a little space for experimentation to try and figure out how to make the ball go faster, or swap out the sprites for different images. You can choose whatever images you like. It'll work with whatever if you want to make like a themed game. And I actually encourage you guys to save the link to your game and stick it in the comments of this Facebook post so everyone can try out each other's Pong games. But I hope you had fun with this video tutorial and have a great day. See you next time. Keep an eye on the info calendar, or excuse me, keep an eye on the library's calendar. And we have more programs coming up soon, so be sure to check that out. Have a great day!